안녕하세요 여러분, it's your Korean Saem, and in today's video I'm going to teach you 5 must-know, very commonly used Korean words that don't always translate into English very well. So if you can use these 5 words in your conversation, it will definitely bring you closer to sounding like a true Korean. Before I get into the actual video, I want to give a very big thank you to my first ever patrons. I finally made a Patreon account last week and there were 3 people that were kind enough to support me. So if you are enjoying my videos and would like to support me in creating better videos for this channel, please consider checking out the link in the description and I will give you a shout out in all my future videos. If you don't want to, that's fine. If you could give this video a like and subscribe to this channel, I would also really appreciate that as well. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the actual video. The first word we're going to look at is 억울하다. 억울하다. This is a descriptive verb used when you feel like you are being victimized or being treated unfairly. You use this when you're angry or you're hurt because of something that happened to you that you felt was unjust or unfair or wrong. So the most obvious example would be if you were, say, arrested for a crime you didn't commit. Then that 억울함, that anger, it's not really anger, indignant maybe. It's that feeling you get when you've been wronged, right? But it's not just for crimes. It's a lot more nuanced than that. So we're going to look at a couple examples. 큰 마음을 먹고 에어컨을 구매했는데 전기료 때문에 에어컨을 끄고 살자니 왠지 억울하다. That was a long sentence. I'll read that one more time. 큰 마음을 먹고 에어컨을 구매했는데 전기료 때문에 에어컨을 끄고 살자니 왠지 억울하다. 큰 마음을 먹고 에어컨을 구매했는데, so I took the plunge. I bought a very expensive air conditioner, but I can't really use it because I'm afraid of the electricity bill. And for some reason, you feel 억울해. It's like, this isn't right, this is unfair. How come I can't use it when I spent all this money on purchasing it in the first place? You know what I mean? Here is another example that I have been feeling personally. 운동을 정말 열심히 했는데 오히려 살이 쪄서 너무 억울해요. 운동을 정말 열심히 했는데 오히려 살이 쪄서 너무 억울해요. I worked out so hard, but I ended up gaining weight. And that makes me feel, it's just unfair. So the word unfair would be used to describe the situation, but the word 억울하다 is used to describe me. I feel 억울해. I am 억울하다. 내가 억울해요. It's for situations where you're like, why? This is what I mean when I say there isn't like a perfect English equivalent for these words. But moving on. Number 2 is 눈치. 눈치 is one of the most difficult words to translate to English, I think. If you can really understand the concept of 눈치 and use it casually, big point to you. So, if you look in the dictionary, the word 눈치 can be interpreted as wit or common sense. But it's not quite the same. So basically, 눈치 is the ability to read the room or pick up on social cues. So the way it's translated into English, it really depends on the situation and the context. And there are so many phrases that can be made out of 눈치. And we're going to look at several today. The first one is 눈치가 없다. You don't have any 눈치. What does this mean? 눈치가 없으면 it means you just can't take a hint. Clueless, you're tactless. Someone's giving you all the right signals and you just can't pick up on it. That's when you say 눈치가 없다. On the contrary, if you say 눈치가 빠르다, 눈치가 빠르다. So if someone has quick 눈치, it means they're quick to understand what's going on. It's like a personality trait. 저 사람은 진짜 눈치가 빨라. That person is really quick to pick up on things, quick to observe, very sharp in that sense. Another phrase is 눈치를 채다. 눈치를 채다. 어떤 사람이 눈치를 채면 It means that they figure something out without being explicitly told. It means they just figured it out based on clues and context. Like if I figured out those two people were dating when no one told me, I got the hint. 아, 눈치를 챘어요. It means I picked it up. I figured it out. The next phrase is 눈치를 보다. 눈치를 보다. To look at 눈치? What does that mean? It means to be very super conscious, like visibly like conscious in trying to read the room, trying to see how people are reacting. Let's look at an example sentence for this one. 도서관에서는 조용히 해야 하지만 공원에서는 눈치 안 보고 떠들 수 있어요. 도서관에서는 조용히 해야 하지만 공원에서는 눈치 안 보고 떠들 수 있어요. So 도서관에서는 조용해야 하지만, although you need to be quiet at the library, 공원에서는 at the park 눈치 안 보고 떠들 수 있어요. You can chat freely, chat without having to, walk on eggshells, talking in whispers in case you might distract that person, but just being like super sensitive about what other people might be thinking. And the last phrase for 눈치 is 눈치가 보이다. So you have 눈치를 보다, which means to like be actively on the lookout, walking on eggshells, concerning yourself about, what other people might think. But if you say 눈치가 보이다, it means the situation itself is kind of making you really uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable, like about self-conscious about how other people might judge you. So this might be a difficult concept to grasp, but let's look at another example sentence for this. 집에 가고 싶은데 눈치 보여서 못 떠나겠어요. 집에 가고 싶은데 눈치 보여서 못 떠나겠어요. 눈치가 보여서, so I can't leave. I want to go home, but I can't leave because 눈치가 보여서. Ugh, if I leave, what if that makes me a party pooper? I might come off as really rude, or there are a lot of different reasons why you might say 눈치가 보이다. But basically, it's saying you can't really go home because you're kind of concerned, not downright worried, but you're just kind of like iffy about how that might be taken. I don't know if this is the best explanation. I'm doing the best I can, but that's basically what 눈치가 보이다 means. All right, now let's look at the third word, and that is 아쉽다. 아쉽다. 아쉽다 is the kind of sad feeling you get when something doesn't meet your expectations, or something isn't enough. So it's not quite disappointed. Disappointed is 실망하다. There's another word for that. But 아쉽다 is when something is like not quite enough. Again, let's look at a few example sentences. 이번 시험 성적이 아쉬워요. 시험 성적이 아쉬워요. Your test scores are a bit 아쉬워. It means it's not disappointing, but it just wasn't the score that you were expecting. Not the best. I could have done better. Another example that can be used when you are maybe dating someone or with friends, 헤어지기 아쉬워요. 헤어지기 아쉬워요. I feel 아쉬워 to be leaving you. Not when you're like breaking up with someone, but when you're parting ways to go home or something. When you say 헤어지기 아쉬워요, it means the time that we spent together was not enough. I don't want to leave you right now. I don't want to leave right now. I wish we could spend more time together. The fourth word we're going to look at today is 아깝다. 아깝다. Now in the dictionary, there are actually three meanings of 아깝다. The first is the kind of like sad feeling, again, is similar to 아쉽다, but it's that sad feeling you get when you lost something that's very valuable or precious to you. So that feeling of loss, but not like real loss. It's not as extreme as like losing something precious, like a pet or like a bag or something. Let's look at examples again so that you can understand what I'm trying to say. 김연아는 2012년 올림픽에서 아깝게 금메달을 수상하지 못했다. 아깝게 금메달을 수상하지 못했다. So unfortunately, she didn't get the gold medal for the 2012 Olympics. 아, 아깝다. She lost it. It's like, oh, too bad. That kind of 아깝다. She could have gotten gold. She was good enough for it. But she ended up getting silver instead. So in this situation, you would say 아깝게 놓쳤어. 아깝게 수상하지 못했어요. The second meaning of 아깝다 is not the feeling when you already lost it. It's the feeling you get when you don't want to part with something or waste something. Again, let's look at some examples. 새 신발이 필요한데 돈이 아까워서 못 사겠어요. 새 신발이 필요한데 I need new shoes, but 돈이 아까워서 못 사겠어요. 돈이 아깝다. The money, I don't want to spend that money. I feel like it's gonna be a waste. I don't want to spend the money. 돈이 아까워요. So it's not saying it's like that money is too precious. It's just it's just a waste. I don't want to use that money. Another example is 잠자는 시간이 아깝다. 잠자는 시간이 아깝다. The time spent sleeping. I don't want to sleep. That time is such a waste. It's valuable time lost. Maybe you're working on some project that you're really passionate about, and that's when you want as much time as you could possibly get. And you don't want to sleep either because you could spend that time doing something else. 잠자는 시간이 아깝다. And the third meaning of 아깝다, you use this word 아깝다 when something or someone is not being used to their full potential or value. For example, you can say something like this. 내가 훨씬 아까워. 내가 훨씬 아까워. I'm much more 아까워. What does that mean? It means that when you're comparing yourself with another person in terms of dating, 내가 훨씬 아까워. It means if I go out with that person doesn't deserve me. That person is not good enough for me. 내가 훨씬 아까워. To give myself to that person would be a waste of my value or potential. So that's what it means, but obviously it's not as grand as that. It's just a casual sentence that gets thrown around. So if someone suggests, hey, why don't you go out with that person? And you respond, 내가 훨씬 아까워. That person's not good enough for me. I'm much better. Something like that. Or another example is 학력이 아깝다. 학력. So 학력 is one's academic record, one's education. So if you say 학력이 아깝다, it means that person's education is being wasted. Let's say someone who has like a PhD in biology or something is working like part-time at a restaurant or something. You know, he should be a scientist, but instead he's working at a restaurant. Like, that is a waste of your education. You are way too overqualified. 학력이 아깝다. Your education is being wasted. And the last word of this video is 애매하다. 애매하다. Now, 애매하다 actually has a direct translation. It's either, vague, ambiguous, uncertain. That's what it says in the dictionary. And there are a lot of instances in which it can be directly translated and it makes perfect sense. Like, 대답이 애매하다. If someone's answer is very vague or ambiguous, 애매하다 is the perfect word to use. However, there are some situations where the Korean 애매하다 is perfect, but I can't think of a 100% matching English word equivalent. So again, let's look at a few examples. The first example is 비가 애매하게 와요. 비가 애매하게 와요. So it's raining, but 애매하게. That's the adverb. So what does that mean? It's vaguely raining. Can you say vaguely raining? That sounds weird, right? But what it means is it's raining not so much that you actually need an umbrella. It's that in between vague situation where you don't know whether you need an umbrella or not. That weird gray area. 비가 애매하게 와요. That's what you can say. Or 음식이 애매하게 남았네. Let's say you went out to a meal with your friends and you have some leftover food, but it's like it's not so much food left over that you can take it home, but then it's not so little that you can just leave it and throw it away and you're not sure what to do about it. 음식이 애매하게 남았네. That's how you can describe the situation. And the last example is 시간이 애매한데? 시간이 애매해요. The time is ambiguous. Like let's say you're hungry and it's only like 5:30, which is not really dinner time. So should you eat dinner at 5:30? 시간이 애매한데. If I eat now, then I'll probably be hungry at like 10. But if I don't eat, I'm so hungry, like this timing is so terrible, I don't know what to do. 시간이 애매하다. That's how you would describe the situation. If you can come up with any more examples for any of these 5 words, please feel free to let me know. Are there any other Korean words that you know that can't really be translated to English? If there are, I would also love to know. Why don't you share it down in the comments for everyone else to see? And otherwise, I will end the video here. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. 다음 영상에서 만나요.